Raise your hand if your parents taught you the 2 magic words. If you don't know what those magic words are, the first one is please, and the second one is the reason why I'm coming here, to say thank you to those of you who responded to my request for your support. I recently made a video where I asked the people who are benefiting from this work to help sustain it with your financial support. To those of you who budget to be a blessing, I swear we couldn't do this work without you. Looking at the numbers, this April may be the first time in quite a few months that we will have more money coming in than we have going out. It's contrary to popular opinion. Doing this work is expensive. You guys are helping us make it happen. And this is also an invitation to people who've been wanting to give who haven't had an opportunity to. If you haven't set up your recurring gift yet and you want to, I'm going to show you on the screen right here how you can do it. We ask everyone who can to give $100 a month to help sustain this work. I ain't going to tell y'all no lie. I was mighty low at the top of this year, wondering if this work was going to be sustainable, but you all are responding, and I appreciate that. Thank you so much. We're going up. Come with us. I'm so like my dad when I said I was mighty low.
Mighty low.
Because that's really how I felt.
Yes, you did.
That is not something a California native is supposed to say. But it's good to see everybody. Welcome to Bible and Beyond Live. It's who we got here? So on the screen we got Alex and Myron. And Alex, where are you at in the world?
I am in Chicago.
One of my favorite cities. I feel like Chicago.
Good food.
Yes, love it here. Born and raised.
What's the weather like?
So we don't have to talk about the weather. Because
mind your business.
Yeah, just that's no, it's like 64 today.
Oh,
I like this.
Yeah, that's good today.
Yeah.
We got Randall. Randall's here. Everybody knows Randall, and he's in the Hampton, Georgia. Are they still cutting down trees outside?
Yeah, man. I'm gonna have to send y'all a video. They done scalped the whole neighborhood. It was a beautiful neighborhood. We had trees and everything. But how you cut down the trees because you don't want to pick up the leaves? That's a terrible excuse.
Is that a message?
Yeah, that's why I'm gonna have to preach that. Cost.
Yeah, we got Brittany here. Brittany, are you in the Midwest? I just can't remember.
St. Louis.
St. Louis.
Yeah.
Yes. Good to see Brittany. And Callie is with us. Callie's going to be coming with the EG moment in just a second.
Oh, you know it.
And then we got Latanya. Latanya's camera's not working, but she got something to say. So we glad to have Latanya here.
What's up, fam?
Hey.
What's up? So it's good to see everybody who's here on the screen in the virtual congregation. Ashley and Adiana,
BJ,
yes,
mom,
back for the second service.
Yes, all our second service folks.
If you had
hey, this needs to be the last service for today.
Yes, the last and final service.
This got to be the last one. I was saying when we were before we went live, it's wild how we somehow morphed back into this rhythm of 2 services in one day as a church, but we weren't trying to, because it's like, on one hand we got the podcast recording, but y'all know like that can turn into church real quick when we do the podcast recording. And then we also have Bible and Beyond. So we are glad to be here. It is Let's Talk About Sex Month. And today we are talking about erotic ethics. So we're taking
body roll, instant body roll.
We are taking.
Yes.
Come on, Myron.
I was saving that for day test, but I figured I'd just bring it out right now.
One day, I'm gonna show y'all the video of Myron dancing with the folk at the steakhouse over in the bar area.
Love it at that steakhouse. I tell you.
Oh man. All right. So we are going to get into that conversation. It's going to be pretty adult. So I want to let you know that right now. It's going to be an adult conversation. We're not going to be, sharing sex stories or nothing like that, but it's going to be a mature conversation. Myron said maybe he will. He doesn't know how he feels.
I need a disclaimer so I can leave the room. I'm not old enough.
But we want to start for something for...
His mama said, be good today.
My mother said behave. I gotta behave. Mother's in the chats.
We're going to do the best we can with a Mama Randall. We're going to do the best we can. But first we want to do something for our emerging generations, and Callie is here to give us the EG moment. So Callie, take us away, please.
Absolutely. Well, hey, everybody. Go ahead and bring the kids around. This moment is for our youngest worshipers and also our young at heart worshipers, right? So this moment is for you. I want to invite you to start the way that we always do. Let's get those hands up in the air, wiggle those fingers. I want to put both of your hands on your belly, and we're going to take 2 deep breaths, okay? In through your nose. Let it out. One more time, deep breath in. And let it out. All right, my friends. Well, last week we learned 2 really big words, okay? I want you to say consent and boundaries, okay? So maybe if you can type that in the chat, feel free to, or maybe have your grown-up help you type that in the chat, consent and boundaries, okay? So a boundary is a rule that you have about how people can interact with you, right? So if maybe you don't like hugs very much, telling someone, hey, I don't want a hug right now, that's a boundary, okay? Consent is when you give someone permission to touch you, right? Or to interact with you a certain way. So if somebody says, can I give you a hug? And you say, yes, that is you giving consent, right? Last week, we learned a cool new song to help us remember how to tell people about our own boundaries. But here's something that's really important that I need y'all to get, okay? You listening? Boundary, like respecting boundaries, goes both ways. It's not just enough for us to say that we have boundaries and to communicate those to our friends. If other people tell us their boundaries, we need to respect their boundaries too, right? It's how the greatest commandment works. We talk about the greatest commandment that Jesus gave all the time here at the Faith Community. Jesus said that we need to love the Lord our God with all of our heart, soul, mind, and strength. But he also said that we need to love our neighbors the way that we love ourselves. So if we have boundaries and we want people to respect our boundaries, we also need to respect other people's boundaries, right? So if they tell us, hey, I don't want a hug right now, even if you really, really, really want to give them a hug, we got to say, okay, I hear you. I won't give you a hug right now. Okay. So we're going to learn a new part of this song, right? It's the same motions as last time, but the words are a little tiny bit different. I'm excited to see if you can catch them. Okay. So the first motion is putting your hand up like a stop sign. I'll stop. Okay. And then remember we did the X and shaking our head. We're going to do that. You don't like that. Okay. And then we had our hands on the face for feeling uncomfortable. You're feeling uncomfortable. And then stretching out like we need more room. The words for that are you need more space. Okay. Then I want you to give me a finger wag like this, like no, no, no. That's the finger wag. The words for that are not around you. And then our hands together like we're being thankful. I'm not offended or blue. We're going to draw a line to make a boundary. That's your boundary. That's your boundary. All right, so we'll go ahead and cue up the video and we'll do the motions together when it's time for the motions.
Everyone has different needs, and we can't read each other's minds. But if we ask before we do something, we won't cross each other's lines. And we'll know what is and isn't fine and say,
I'll stop, you don't like that.
You're feeling uncomfortable.
You need more space, not around you.
I'm not offended or blue.
That's just your boundary. That's your boundary.
Awesome. Well done, everybody. So we'll end our emerging generations moment together the way that we always do. Let's put our hands back up, wiggle those fingers again, put both of your hands on your belly, take 2 more breaths, and then we'll say our affirmation together, okay? So deep breath in, let it out. One more time, deep breath in, and let all that energy out. All All right, let's say our affirmation together. Go ahead and repeat after me. God made me on purpose. There are people here today who love and affirm me. Today I can include someone, be my authentic self, and disrupt what hurts others, just as Jesus showed me. All right, so this is the end of our EG moment where we're going to kick it over to TFC Worship. TFC Worship, take it away.
I'll never be more loved than I am right now. Wasn't holding you up, so there's nothing I can do to let you down. It doesn't take a trophy to make you proud. I'll never be more loved than I am right now. Going through a storm, but I won't go down. I hear your voice carried in the rhythm of the wind to call me out. You would cross an ocean so I wouldn't drown. You've never been closer than you are right now, 'cause you are Jireh. You are enough. Jireh, you are enough. And I will be content in every circumstance, 'cause you are Jireh. You are enough. I'm already loved, and I'm already chosen. I know who I am. I know what you've spoken. I'm already loved more than I could imagine, and that is enough. I'm already loved. I'm already chosen. I know who I am. I know what you've spoken. I'm already loved more than I could imagine, and that is enough. That is enough. That is enough. That is enough. You are enough. So I am enough. You are enough. I am enough. 'Cause you are enough. That means that I am enough. You are enough. So I am enough. Jireh, you are enough. Jireh, you are enough. And I will be content in every circumstance, 'cause you are Jireh. You are enough. You're more than enough, forever enough. You're always enough. Yeah, you're more than enough, forever enough. You're always enough. You're more than enough, forever enough. You're always enough. You're enough for me, forever enough, always enough. You're more than enough. You are Jireh. that means I am enough. Jireh, you are enough. You are Jireh. You are enough. You're always enough for me. And because you are enough, that means I am enough. Because you are enough, that means I am enough. Jireh, you are enough. You're more than enough. You are more than enough for me. Provider you are, healer you are, sustainer you are, whatever I need, you are more than enough. You are more than enough. Jireh, we declare that you're enough. You are Jireh. You're more than enough. And I will be content in every circumstance, 'cause you are Jireh. You are enough.
Wait a minute. It wasn't over. Wait.
No.
Why
he
did it
wasn't
stop?
Ready. He wasn't ready.
Don't rush the Holy Ghost. Oh Lord. See, that's Autumn back there. She about to go in.
Look down here.
Hey,
We got
Myron
Randall Seniors in the comments.
See,
Oh Lord, the house is full. Yeah, they choose to come to it. Let's talk about sex month. Huh? This is great.
Isn't that awesome?
Oh, have mercy, Jesus.
See, Autumn was back there on the controls about to start shouting. She was like, let me turn this thing off
cut
before
this off real quick.
before I'm laid out on the floor. Wow. Thank you, Marielle. And shout out to Bug. Danteus Malone. Incredible musician.
We call him Bug.
Yeah, we call him Bug. He carried us through musically through most of the pandemic. So much love to Bug. Wow, that was amazing.
Beautiful.
Myron, you got your whole family here. What's going on in the chat before we move forward with this thing?
Man, well, you know, the chat is always busy here at TFC, and the chat is equally as busy today. First off, folks are loving the video from the Emerging Generations moment, right? It is resonating, it is connecting. Isn't it wild that a video that is made for young people can even teach adults? And that is what is happening. So everyone is singing their praises, get it? Because the video song is singing the praises of the video. So thank you, Callie, for introducing us to that. I know I'll be singing that all day. Alexa says her and her kids will be singing the video all day long. Even my mother's like, sing. So this has just been wonderful. And then Marielle, that songbird from heaven she is, I tell you, just took us up to the third heavens and everybody is saying, love this song, sing the song. This is so beautiful. Come on and run. She put a little lyrical extra on there. In Louisiana, we call it a little land yap. She threw a little land yap on the track, and it blessed us so much. And so we are excited. We are filled with worship, and we are ready to get down to today's Bible and Beyond lesson.
Absolutely. Thank you, my friend. Thank you. It's good to see everybody that's here. I see LA came in a little bit ago. Jessica. I want to point out what Andre said a while ago. He said, when you love somebody, you respect their boundaries, not negotiate them.
And this is where we need that Hammond organ sound.
Yeah. I want us all to take that in. When you love somebody, you respect their boundaries, not negotiate them. And that applies to how you love yourself. Now read that again. When you love yourself, you respect the boundaries you set for yourself.
Respect your boundaries.
And not negotiate them with yourself. If you said it and it made sense when you said it, and it's what helps you feel secure and safe when you get in the moment, don't start renegotiating what helps you feel safe. Andre, you just said the whole word.
Lord, I need somebody to tell me that every time I go to the Golden Corral. Have mercy, Jesus. Don't negotiate your boundaries. You said you was going to get one plate. Don't you get three?
Oh, I can't stand you so much. Oh my God. Yes. So, erotic ethics. We are in Let's Talk About Sex Month. We started with Myron the first Saturday of the month. And then last Saturday, Tyranny led us in Bible and Beyond Live. And Tyranny is the one that kind of brought us into this conversation about Song of Songs. Remember, on the first Saturday of the month, Myron was talking about unprotected text. Every time I say that, it's hilarious to me. And we want to continue this conversation about disruptive sexual ethics through the Song of Songs. That's a book in the Bible. If you haven't read it, I encourage you to just sit down, even if you just listen to a recording of it. It'll open your eyes. It'll open your eyes. Some people refer to Song of Songs as Bible erotica. And when you start reading it and hear the sexual innuendos throughout all 8 chapters, it's like, dang, all right then. So we're looking at this interaction in this book, because it's like it's metaphorically this picture of healthy human sexuality, and Pamela might add sappy human sexuality.
Listen, I couldn't handle it.
For real. And so they have a lot of flowery, picturesque talk. So for those of you who have read or encountered a Song of Songs before, it is very apparent that the people involved are engaged sexually, right? And again, this is a mature conversation. So if you don't want your kids to hear conversations about sex, this might not be the Bible and Beyond to have them sitting next to you. Now, I'm not going to say anything I wouldn't want my kids to hear, but I'm not parenting your kids. So you got to parent your kids and decide if they should be here. So it is very clear in this passage that they are in some type of sexual relationship. But I want to ask you all, do you think the exchange in Song of Songs is happening before sex, during sex, or after?
Definitely after.
Why do you say after?
Because, dude, it was just too much. It was really too much. It was like the afterglow after a period of celibacy for both of them. And now they just feel like this is like the best moment ever. And they just laying in the afterglow, just compliment after compliment after compliment. I was like, oh my gosh, go home, Roger.
Good.
Go home, Roger.
Ashley said it was before and after.
Okay.
All right. So let's see. Alex, what you think? Was it before, during, or after?
I think it was before, during, and after. Because yeah, I felt a little game in there. So I felt like before. I felt a little like, yeah, I just felt the beginning like I like you stuff in the beginning, and then I was like, wait a minute. So okay, we beyond that, and then and then like what Pamela was saying, all of that, like, yeah, that was great conversation afterwards. So yeah, I think it was all of the above.
I feel you. All right, Brittany, what about you?
I also thought it was kind of all of the above. The beginning definitely seemed like it was before they're talking to each other about their desires, and then we get more into, okay, it's happening, and then, okay, now we've done it. What are we doing now? Are we still into it? Yeah, we are. I think we had all of the above.
All of the above. Latanya, what you say?
All of the above. I mean, they were they were so enthralled with one another. It was just like, okay, get a room. And my ears is too much for this, but I just thought it was before, during, and after.
I feel you. Yeah, I can see all of that. I would say before, during, and after as well. I think what's important when we look at this is to recognize that this is a book of erotica. Like, they're talking sexually to each other using metaphorical language. And when you get in there, like, we're going to talk about some of the language in there. When you get in there and really see it, it's like, dang, that was nasty.
Exactly.
For real. So I think it's important for us to take a moment to recognize that this type of interaction was happening in this time frame. They wrote about it and they canonized it. Human sexuality was canonized into the sacred text. Now, the fact that that was shielded from us does not change the fact that it's been there the whole time. And it was a celebration of human sexuality that says nothing about marriage. And credible biblical scholarship will suggest the people involved in this situation actually were not married. Myron, am I lying? Okay.
Yeah, you're right on, right? That's nowhere near what the text indicates. As a matter of fact, they were probably married to other people, is what some biblical scholars would suggest. This was a
I saw something about your bride, but it didn't seem like it was the person that was talking. So yeah, because I did a NLT translation and it was different.
Uh-oh. So, right, you have all of these viable options for how to read the text. Some of us struggle with this reading of the text because we were raised in a space that said this was a metaphor about God's love for humanity, right? That's an imposition of a metaphor onto the text. Like, it doesn't even lend itself to that metaphor that was imposed on it. I think it can lend itself to other metaphors, and I plan to talk about that at worship next week. But the metaphor that we've been given, I don't believe is the proper metaphor to extract from this story. But we are clearly in the space where we're talking about human sexuality in this chapter, and actually in this entire book. So last year at Let's Talk About Sex, we introduced a living communal sexual ethic. I say living because it is open to evolution, and it's communal because it's something that we can all agree upon, right? We're not trying to impose rules on how people operate sexually down to preferences. We're talking about matters of safety and security. And when we're talking about our sexual ethics at TFC, we want everybody to be safe. We want everybody to be seen. We want everybody to be responsible with their bodies and care for themselves and care for others, but not trying to mandate rules for how people have sex. So we developed this framework called CCM. It was consent, communication, and mutuality. And I put heavy emphasis on communication as far as it being honest. So it was CCM, consent, communication, mutuality. Like I said, it's a living framework, so it evolves. A few weeks ago, Tierney and I were having a conversation about the framework. And as we were talking back and forth, I said, maybe we should rethink that communication piece, because I don't think communication is saying exactly what I wanted to say. And T said, why don't we just say honesty? Right? Because honesty implies communication. Communication doesn't imply honesty. So we want to put the emphasis on the honesty. So our communal framework for disruptive sexual ethics starts with consent, honesty, and mutuality. I've been saying something else. Consent, honesty, and mutuality. Consent. Yeah.
Yeah, I've been saying communication too.
Yeah, consent, honesty, and mutuality. Now, I got to ask this. I got to check in, because sex has been one of those really difficult topics for a lot of us in church because of how it was taught and how we were suppressed sexually. And not just LGBTQ plus folk, like us straight folk were suppressed in different ways. So we all have some type, not all of us, most of us have some type of baggage that we bring to conversations about sexuality. And the first time I introduced this, it kind of rubbed people the wrong way. It was like, I don't know if I want all of this instruction about sexual ethics. So I like to give room for people to not be comfortable with something, and like, let's put that out there. Or you may love it. I want to hear your thoughts. Like, what do you think of, or how do you feel about an idea of a communal sexual ethic? How do you feel about that, babe?
I agree with it. I think I had to compartmentalize based on some other stuff, but I think that it is good to have a basic understanding of ethical practices across the board when it comes to an organization, and not just for, God forbid, it's not just for consensual sex. If something were to happen within this organization, what's the policy? You know what I'm saying? So I feel like when you have something that's structured and you have other people involved in it, there needs to be a basis that you build everything on. So I think that the consent, honesty, and mutuality is a great basis. And then when people consent, they can come up with their own rules.
Yeah. Brittany, how do you feel about it?
I think I was at the Bible and Beyond where you introduced it last year, and I thought it was a great idea. And I agree with Pamela, because when you're in community with people, you do need to have like a standard of how you're going to interact with each other if you want the community to be sustainable, if you want to actually be able to grow. And so having this kind of standard that's not only like good for safety, but also attainable, because I feel like a lot of the times what we usually are given in church related to sex is not really something that most people actually can live up to. So this is like much more on par with reality, and also just like it's a great way to keep people safe and comfortable. So I think it's great.
That's what's up. I appreciate that. And can we just take a moment to appreciate these fresh locks that
listen, because that retwist is, I'm jealous. I'm so jealous.
Alex, what about you? How do you feel about this idea of having this communal sexual ethic?
I think, like everybody else was saying, I think it's a good baseline. It doesn't feel like what you call it. I don't know if that makes sense. It doesn't feel like a communal sexual ethic. It just feels like, because that word communal is like scary, but it feels like a baseline. But what it also does is like it it's a teaching tool, right? Because not everybody understands, or not everybody goes into sexual situations thinking consent, honesty, and mutuality, right? Yeah, so I think it's teaching, and it's helpful to someone that will encounter their next situation, and they think that, and they're like, wait a minute, this situation not giving those three things. So maybe I need to put my boundaries up. You know what I mean? So yeah.
Yeah, I feel you. And thank you for sharing that discomfort about the word communal, because I don't believe you're by yourself with that discomfort.
No, I don't. Communal freaks me out too.
Yeah, because that is what has traumatized a lot of people, is being a part of these communities that have all of these regulations and all of these stipulations, and they require you to assimilate into some box that is not humanly possible for so many of us. So then we transition into a space like this, and we have to find that balance, right? Because we want to make sure everybody has the freedom to be their authentic selves within the context of community. So then when we come together, what are our basic agreements is basically what we're saying. What are our basic agreements? Myron, you had your...
Yeah, you know what I like about this, and I think this is so novel, and which is why I appreciate TFC. It gives you a framework for conversation. Because what we realize is that everybody's sexuality is different. Everybody experiences and enjoys sex in different ways. I've told y'all this story before, but I remember going to my doctor once, and my doctor told me the biggest lie and the biggest truth in the same statement. It was a cardiologist. I don't want y'all to think I was at some type of other doctor. I ain't got no issues of that kind. You know what I mean? So I was at the cardiologist, and we were talking about medicines and stuff. He said, well, you know, everybody's body is different. And I thought about that, and I thought, boy, that's the biggest lie, but also the biggest truth at the same time. Because the fact that he's a cardiologist would suggest that everybody's body is the same, right? He spent years figuring out how to map the human heart. On the wall was a picture of the human heart, and everybody's heart looks exactly the same. But what he wasn't talking about was not people's anatomy, but people's chemistry. That our anatomy might be the same, but our chemistries are different. And even when we come into sexual situations, our anatomies might be the same. And for some people, anatomies may not be the same, right? Our chemistries are different. And so we've got to have the conversation about consent, right? Then we've got to have the conversation about honesty. Like, hey, this is what I like. This is what I don't like. Don't do this. And then we've got to come together on a mutual agreeable plane so that we can say, I'm gonna do this, you do this, and we'll like it together, right? So I love that this gives us a framework to have that conversation in any type of romantic relationship we might walk into.
Yes, yes, I appreciate you sharing that. We all have the same chemistry, even if we have the same anatomy. So there are some ways we're going to be different, and then there are ways that we are the same. So what we're saying in this space is like, this is where we all agree. Right? Let's all have a basic agreement right here, because when we're in community, people may engage with each other sexually. I mean, I'm not naive. I've been in church all my life. So I people get together, they meet each other. Let's all have an agreement about what sexual ethics we will live by in this space. And if you don't agree with that, then that says something, right? Because we're talking about basic, like my mom said, it feels like common sense. We're trying to implement common sense, basic agreements is what we're trying to do. So I think it's important to have that conversation, because a lot of us are kind of bringing baggage from what we've been through into this space. And that's reasonable. That's not a knock. I want people to bring their baggage, because you need somewhere to unpack it. And what safer space than with people who will help you unpack it in a healthy way, to whatever extent you consent to that help. Latanya, what about you? How do you feel about this whole concept?
Well, communal, me and my husband is here too. And we both have a problem with communal because it sounds like you're doing it with a whole bunch of people
Oh,
at the same time. And so but I always, we need to have a safe space, and honesty and mutuality is very important for feeling safe. Because if I'm going to be in a community, I want to know that I'm safe in that community. And for a lot of women, especially in the church, we just weren't safe. And so I agree with, I love it because, like your mom said, it's like common sense.
yeah. Yeah. That's reasonable. And that's the thing with language. It's like,
Right.
it's so difficult sometimes because, we're talking about, our agreements as a community and everybody's comfortable with that. But then when we put the word communal on it, it's like, and that's just how language works sometimes. So, we'll continue to throw that around and kind of see what all that means. Somebody turn off Dewan's phone. Turn it off. Turn it off. Talking about that's fun too. You know what he's talking about when he say that's fun too?
What?
When Latanya said, sound like everybody just doing it together.
Somebody take that donation right now.
Take it first.
Somebody turn his phone off. No, but look, we're going to get into this Song of Songs now, right? And I believe we will see consent, honesty, and mutuality displayed in the Song of Songs. And we're going to get into that. But first, I'm going to let Myron give us a quick announcement and take us a little bit further. And then we're going to talk about where we see consent, honesty, and mutuality in the sacred text in Song of Songs.
All right, folks, it is time for the TFC Where You Need to Be. Our number one announcement for this week is, folks, I don't know if you know it or not, a couple years ago, right at the top of the pandemic, Christian Smith wrote this fantastic book called Breaking All the Rules. Chapter 4 is my favorite, but it's a heck of a book. I encourage you, if you don't have a copy of it, go ahead and get a copy of it. It is the text that we use in day one: disruptive, authentic, inclusive. It is our introduction to disruption. So if you are interested in TFC, you want to find out a little bit more about this community, what we believe, how we practice, you can do that in day one, where we use Breaking All the Rules as the text to walk through this community called the Faith Community. If you are interested in being a part of day one, we want you to go to our website. There is a link there where you can subscribe, get all of the information you need about being a part of day one. As a matter of fact, right there in the chat, if you're there on Facebook and even if you're there on YouTube, is a link for you to register for day one. We would love to see you. The classes are facilitated by the leaders of TFC. And let me tell you, they are often, and they're always, I don't want to say often, they're always great conversations. So I encourage you to be a part of day one if you are interested in learning more about this community. Now, folks, as you know, my favorite time of the service is offering time. This is the time that we have set aside to make sure that we support this ministry called the Faith Community. Listen, if the Faith Community is blessing you, if you are learning from the Faith Community, if you are unpacking and deconstructing with us, we need your help to be sustainable. We are not here to make gangbusters of money or cash. We are on the path to make sure that everyone at the Faith Community who works here, who's a part of this ministry, can earn a living wage. And to do that, we've got to make this place sustainable. It takes some 100 to 150 hours of time outside of what you see at Bible and Beyond and Day One and our gathering groups. Is a lot of hours that we put in to make sure that this ministry has the content that it needs, that it has the human power that it needs, so that we can have these conversations in safe spaces. And we have got to make sure that this space is sustainable. So if you have been blessed, we encourage you to bless the Faith Community. How do we do that? I'm glad you asked. You all ask very good questions. Christian Smith has laid it out very plainly for us that if everybody budgets to be a blessing, if you make the commitment and partner with us and give $100 a month, $100 a month, that ain't no money, y'all. $100 a month, make that commitment. Or if you can do above $100 a month, make that commitment monthly now. So that you can be a blessing to the Faith Community. We'll be right where we need to be so that we can be sustainable for the future of this ministry. Now, how do you give? go ahead and put that on the screen. First is via Givelify. That is an app right there in the App Store, Google Play, or the App Store on iPhone. You can subscribe to give there, which means that you can get recurring giving set up. So it automatically takes out that $100 every month for you. Or if you want to just put the amount in, you can do that. You don't even need to have an account with Givelify to do that. You just enter your information and Givelify will send that money to the faith community. If you're looking for other ways to give, you can do that online. Go to thefaithcommunity.org. You will see a link tree, hit support, then hit giving, and it will give you other options to give. And then always, y'all, you can give via Cash App. You can slide it in the Cash App, # TFC virtual, and you can give that way. And then last but not least, if you want to write a check, you go ahead and write a check out to the faith community. I want to invite you to take this moment right now, wherever you are, grab your phone, go ahead and give to the faith community right now. Don't let Bible and Beyond pass without you going and making your contribution to this ministry for the future of this ministry, so that it can be sustainable. You know, some ministries ask you to give on promise. We ask you to give on evidence. We ask you to give because your life has been changed, not because we promise your life will be changed. And I think we've got a good track record of making a difference in the lives of people. I can tell you from my own testimony that the faith community has really challenged and changed me. So go ahead, folks, give, and it shall be given unto you. Good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over. We give in a certain type of way here at the faith community. I'm going to read that, but you know, I always like to give a little joke when we talk about giving. And so I'm going to do that. Now, listen, I'm going to tell you in advance, this is a bit spicy. So go ahead and grab your kids and cover their ears, or not, you know, they're grown or they're not grown, whatever, you the parents. But let's talk about sex month. So I'm going to tell a bit of a spicy joke. Are you all right? So there was this lovely lady, let's call her Sister Jane. Sister Jane got married and was very, very fruitful. She had 16 children. Sister Jane had 16 children. Her husband died. And then she got remarried. And Sister Jane had 12 children for the second husband. First husband, she had 16. Second husband, she had 12. That husband died. She got remarried. This is a third husband here, folks. And she has 5 children with this third husband. So she's got 16. She's got 12. She's got 5. And then the third husband dies. And then Sister Jane dies, and at her funeral, all her family is there. All of her children are there. The priest gets up to give the eulogy and talks about how great of a mother Sister Jane was, that she raised all these children up in the fear and admonition of the Lord. And then he closes the eulogy and says, thank God they're back together again. And the church dismisses and they go on to their separate ways. But one of the kids says, thank God they're back together again. So she goes to grab the priest and says, hey, Father, when you said, thank God they're back together again, were you talking about her first husband or her second husband or her third husband? And the priest looks at her and goes, no, daughter, I was talking about her legs. Folks, thank you for giving here at the Faith Community. We give in a certain type of way. Go ahead and put that giving affirmation on the screen. Let's read it together. I don't give out of guilt, shame, or unhealthy obligation. I give out of gratitude for what God has given to me. I give because I believe in what God is doing through this community for me and others. I give because I believe that it will come back to me. Good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over. I am loved, accepted, and affirmed here based on who I am and not what I have. God bless you. Thank you for giving to the Faith Community.
Sir, you are fired.
Go ahead and log off right now. Bam!
Right? Byron, please.
You are so fired right now.
Y'all didn't expect that, though.
Oh, my God. Listen, it is so important. It is so important that on our journey of life, particularly those of us who are really justice oriented and want to see people treated well, and we get angry when we see injustice, it is so important that we laugh. It is so important that we enjoy our lives. It is so important that we relax. And yes, Mama Randall, I'm sorry. We thought he was going to be good.
Lord, no. Take my allowance from me, Jesus.
Lord have mercy. Where's your dad? Myron Sr., Deke, we're going to have to talk. We got to talk about the son of yours. Okay. All right. So let's keep it going. Song of Songs. We're going to actually get into this text and look at where we see consent, honesty, and mutuality in this text with the time that we have remaining. And I'm still going to get you out of here on time within the next 34 minutes. I'm going to try. So
you notice none of us moved when you said
I'm going to try. So let's start with consent. That is a baseline understanding. Last year, when we did Bible and Beyond at TFC for Let's Talk About Sex Month, Tierney introduced this concept that says Christianity has a consent problem. We're actually going to talk about that on the Holy Smokes podcast this season. Christianity has a consent problem. Consent means permission for something to happen, or agreement to do something. Permission and agreement is where it starts. If we don't have permission and there is not an agreement, there should not be any type of sexual encounter. It has to start there as a baseline. Because a lot of times we've heard all types of stories of sexual encounters that were not consensual. And we know the impact that has on people. So we always start there. So I want to start with just having this conversation about consent and how important it is for us to take ownership of that for ourselves. So tell me about a time you said yes to something when you really wanted to say no, or you said no when you really wanted to say yes. Either or, whatever comes up for you, you can drop it in the chat. I want Pamela to
man, this is the one question I've been struggling with off the outline, because I feel like I spent such a long time saying yes when I wanted to say no. Like, I was in a whole relationship saying yes to so many things that I wanted to, honestly, in the moment, advocate for myself for, but because of the way I was raised to believe that wives are supposed to be, during my engagement, I didn't use my voice to advocate for myself when I was engaged the first time. I didn't. I just was like going with the flow, doing stuff I didn't want to do, agreeing to things I didn't want to, all to keep the peace and not ruffle anybody's feathers, because I thought that I thought I was doing what a godly woman was supposed to do.
And I would imagine there are a lot of people who can identify with that.
Yeah.
a lot of people can identify with that. If you in the comments, if you in the congregation, like, drop it in the comments if you can identify with what she just said, because I know I've heard that story over and over and over again from different people. And that's real. Latanya, you were saying something?
Yeah. It's when she said that, I was like, yeah, I was in a whole marriage, and I had no clue about anything. I was very naive. I was married at the age of 22, and I didn't know anything. The conversation, the sex talk that my mother gave me was keep your legs closed and your dress down. That was it. And so, I get married and I'm introduced to stuff I don't even know what this is.
Yep.
And so it was, we really do a disservice to people, period, when we don't discuss healthy sexual ethics and what it means to consent. Or you can say no to your spouse, and you do have some autonomy. We don't teach girls that. We teach them that it is your duty as a wife, especially if you are a Christian wife, to do what your husband says. And I had a pastor tell me that the problems that we had in our marriage was my fault because I wasn't sleeping with my husband enough.
Man, I'm sorry to hear that.
That's tragic. That's terrible, terrible pastoral malpractice.
Yeah, it was horrible because I didn't feel safe even in my own home with my husband. I didn't feel safe. I didn't feel like I had a voice. And that went on for 13 years. And I was like, I can't do this anymore. I'm going to die. And so I left. But I couldn't get any help from anyone. No one would listen to me. I didn't have a voice.
You saying that makes me think about the phrase or the ideology really by Kevin Garcia, which is bad theology kills.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
I have heard so many people talk about how their embedded theology made them not want to live. Bad theology kills. If you have if you practice a theology that makes you not want to be here, or that you feel will take your life if you continue to practice it, that's bad theology.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I had to leave. I had to save myself, but in the process, I had not worked. I was a stay-at-home mom. I had to leave my children because I had no one to help me, not family, not the church, no one. I had to give up my children. I had to leave them with their father and figure out life.
Wow.
And nobody cared. And then I was the bad guy.
Of course.
So, you know, they poured more gasoline on it than anything. And I was like, wow, this is really something to have experienced.
And when I hear stories like that, I want to say, Latanya, thank you for taking the risk to be vulnerable with us after what you've been through in church. Mm-hmm. I'm amazed by the courage of those of you who land at TFC and say, I'm gonna give this another shot.
Well, I didn't have a problem. I've never had a problem with God.
Yeah.
I've had a problem with folk in the church.
Yeah.
But not God, because that's not the God I know.
Yeah.
Right.
That ain't the God that touched me and taught me while I was sitting at my kitchen table with my Bible and all these other books open, trying to understand him. So I know him. But all that other stuff, y'all can have it.
Can have it. Can have it. Absolutely. Alex, what about you? A time you said no when you wanted to say yes, or vice versa?
I mean, I'm just gonna get right to it. I mean, it's kind of, I'm actually glad I went after Latanya because it kind of adds to that. We need to realize that you can say no, but also you can also say no after you've said yes. I think that's huge. You can say no at any time. So, of course, and there's a whole show. I don't know if anybody of you watch 13 Reasons Why. That is a huge example of what I just said. Is a series on Netflix. It was really big. First season was really about it, but being in a situation, and I'm just going to tell the example. I was in a situation where I was in a sexual situation. I know that I was at the house. I know that maybe I came there for that. Maybe I didn't. But in my head, that's how I really was like, maybe I didn't. Maybe I just was just being here. You know what I mean? And that person was very clever at pushing little by little until they wanted. And I remember in my head in the moment thinking, I don't really want to do this.
Been there.
But still went ahead because I felt like, well, I insinuated a yes, so now I have to suffer the consequences of the insinuation of the yes, right?
Yeah.
So And that's difficult because that's why you have so many of these cases come up with women and sexual assault, and it's so hard for it's so hard because I didn't feel like I was assaulted. However, someone in that same situation could because of how they felt. And that's why it's so hard when people get on sides and they say, well, I don't believe her, I don't believe him, I don't believe them. You can't do it, just mind your business, because you don't know how they felt in the moment. You don't know what they're in their brain during that activity, what was going on. So just mind your business. But yeah. So that was a time, and it was a learning experience for me, for real, because I'm pretty straightforward and direct, but for whatever reason, I was just like, but in my head, the wheels were turning. Like, nah, you didn't want to do that. Like, why did I do that? And then afterward, I was still like, that was dumb. Why did I do that?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
We've been there.
Been there. Yep.
Been there.
Yeah.
Been there. Brittany, what about you?
I would definitely agree with like the being able to recognize that you can say no at any point, even if initially you were like, yes. Then you can just be like, no, I'm not feeling this anymore. Just kidding. Like, it was fun until it wasn't. And
Right.
so like, and I think I have been pretty good about saying no in those sorts of situations if I want to say no. Ashley mentioned in the comments wanting to say yes, but feeling like she had to say no because of how she was raised. And I've definitely also experienced that. And then in a totally non-sexual context, just like being voluntold to do things, or, you know, where somebody's like, oh, we need someone, Brittany. And you're just like, I didn't raise my hand, but now I feel obligated for whatever reason because of the context you're in. So those were kind of the things that I thought about when I was thinking of this question.
Yeah. I think that happens a lot with family too, Brittany.
Mm-hmm.
Family members end up saying yes because they feel obligated when they really want to say no.
It's really difficult to take ownership of your consent when you've been theologically conditioned by coercion. So you're coerced into thinking you don't have certain options, or if you make certain decisions, you're going to make God angry. So going back to what Ashley was talking about, like, I don't even feel like I can do this because God is going to be angry with me. And that's all coercion. Like these ideas about what God is going to be angry about, a lot of the stuff we were told God was going to be angry about at church really ain't the stuff that even the writers of scripture talk about God is going to be angry about. We got a whole book of the Bible here that's about human sexuality. They canonized human sexuality, right? But we are coerced into believing that if we do something that feels good to us, then God is going to be angry, which is why we have so many conversations about pleasure in this space. Going back to how pleasure is a birthright. Like we shouldn't feel bad about experiencing pleasure. I want to say, before we move forward, I've been in a number of situations where I said yes when I wanted to say no. And I'm going to be very transparent. That's happened with me and Pamela, where she made a sexual advance and
tried to take him down through there. I tried.
And in the moment, I wasn't in the headspace to do it. And I'm going somewhere. I wasn't in the headspace to do it, but I felt like I was supposed to want to. I felt like because I'm supposed to want to do this right now. Because of how we're conditioned sexually, men's supposed to always be ready. And that's why I say patriarchy is bad for all of us. It's bad for all of us, because then as men, we can't say, you know what, I'm really not in the mood right now. I don't feel like doing this in this particular moment. But because of the expectations of I'm supposed to always be ready, I go into performance mode. And now I'm doing something that it's not a bad thing, but I didn't want to do it right now, or I wasn't in the headspace right now. And we have
it's
to
like eating something you didn't really have a taste for. You're not hungry anymore, but that's not really what you wanted to eat.
Yeah,
you know.
Absolutely. Randall, what has been coming up in the chat?
My God, it is going down in the chat here, folks. So first off, Latanya, thank you so much for sharing. So many people in the chat have resonated with what you have saying. People saying, I can identify. Yes, same. Your story is helping people. So we appreciate the fact that you are sharing that. Autumn says there's so many women that she knows that their bodies were described as belonging to their husband, right? Patriarchy is a problem from everybody. We talked about that the first week when we were in our Let's Talk About Sex series. Let me throw this in here. What is the antidote for patriarchy? Personhood. When you recognize that people are people and everybody has responsibility for their own personhood, and we divest from the system that puts men over women, and we say that everybody is their own individual and has their own autonomy over their own body. That was just me tossing that in. So I get happy. Autumn says, bad theology kills. Again, quoting that Kevin Garcia line. Kevin is such a great guy. Thank you for that language, Kevin. Z the Nomad says, yes, as a man in all my relationships, because he didn't know anything about boundaries. And so often he said yes when he wanted to say no, because he didn't understand boundaries. Elder Dewan is back in the comments talking about his teenage years and his 20s when he thought he had to sleep with everybody, all of the church folks, saying yes when he should have said no. And then Ashley flipped it on his head and said a lot of times she said no when she should have said yes. She missed out on some opportunities for some great relationships because she was coerced by conditioning to say no when she should have said yes. I know that feeling. If I hadn't gotten out of my Pentecostal upbringing, Z says, you know, that Pentecostalism, that works-based ideology that says that holiness is right and you got to be holy all in of your own power is a problem sometimes, right? Because it puts all of your faith and all of your holiness and all of your righteousness in your own hands, which is a weird thing and a weird place to be. Melanie Ivy says, Alex, thank you for your transparency. And so folks are in the comments resonating with exactly what's going on. Last thing I'm going to say here, and this is just my own comment. I keep thinking about that Kevin Garcia quote, bad theology kills. So if bad theology is the litmus test or killing and death is the litmus test for bad theology, that means love and life is the litmus test for good theology. So if you put theology to the test, if it's not giving you love, if it's not giving you life, then ultimately it's bad and it's not good for anybody involved. So tossing it right back to you, Christians, man.
Thank you so much. And that's so good. That's so good that we establish what the litmus test is for good or bad theology. So when we look at Song of Songs, the importance of consent, right? We're trying to find a healthy sexual ethic in the Bible. Song of Songs starts with consent. The very first line out of the writer's mouth. So you get Psalms 1 of 1. It just establishes what the book is about. So Song of Songs, chapter 1, verse 1 says, the Song of Songs, which is Solomon's. This is verse 2. Let him kiss me with the kisses of his mouth. Let him. She is inviting him. There is an invitation being extended here. And it says, for your love is better than wine. Your anointing oils are fragrant. Your name is perfume poured out. This is the sappy stuff that Pamela was talking about. Therefore, the maidens love you. Draw me after you. This is not just consent. This is enthusiastic consent.
She said, hurry up.
This is enthusiastic consent. If you have to wonder if the answer is yes, the answer is no. If you have to wonder if the answer is yes, the answer is no.
That's good.
This book opens up with the consent of a Black woman. I love that so much, that the Bible canonizes Black sexuality. Well, because it's all in Song of Songs, all throughout the book. Song of Songs, chapter 1, verse 5. If you look at it in the New Revised Standard Version, Song of Songs, chapter 1, verse 5 says, I am Black and beautiful. You don't believe me? Go look it up. It's in there. I ain't put it in there. But they say you can't take nothing from it. You can't add nothing to it. It's in there.
It's in the book.
1 and 5, I am black and beautiful. And then look at what it says in Song of Songs, chapter 5, verse 2. I was sleeping, but my heart was awake. The sound of my beloved knocking. Open to me, my sister, my love, my dove, my perfect one. For my head is wet with dew. All of these sexual innuendos are just wild. My head is wet with dew. Listen to this. My locks with the drops of the night. My locks with the drops of the night. That's not all. Song of Songs, chapter 5, verse 11. It says, his head is the finest gold. His locks are wavy, black as a raven.
That man was fine.
Yes, Pam, he was fine. Do you
That man
understand
was
me?
fine. You hear me?
The book opens up with consent. And I so appreciate that, because that's that baseline understanding, right? So the fact that this book that is canonized in the sacred text opens up with a line of consent. So if you have to wonder if the answer is yes, then the answer is no. If you have to wonder if your answer is yes, if you trying to figure it out for yourself, then until you figure it out for yourself, just let your answer be no. Just let your answer be no if you're still trying to figure it out for yourself. What is Dewan in there talking about?
Somebody get the elder. The elder says, how did the drops get on his head? And that is a question.
And BJ said they sweated out, they retwist.
There you go. That's exactly what happened, BJ. It was cardio.
I love it.
All right, so we got consent. We see honesty here as well. Honesty is just to be real with each other. Like, start by being real with yourself. We got to be real with each other and be real with ourselves when we engage in sexual activity. And there have been too many times we've been in sexual situations where we weren't being real with each other. So can y'all tell me about a time you were in a relationship and at least one person in the relationship was dishonest about their status? All right, so I'm gonna tell y'all mine. A relationship you were in where at least one person was dishonest about their status, and it could be like marital status, emotional status, time availability, whatever. I was in a relationship with a young lady who at the time told me she was also talking to another person, which was fine because we weren't in a committed relationship. It's like, cool, that's what's up. Do your thing. I'm doing mine too. We good. Then we decided to get a little bit more serious, and then we got into a committed relationship. And during that time, she was telling me how the other dude was like kind of jealous, and he really wanted to be there, and so on and so forth. And I was like, all right, well, I mean, you here, so I don't care what he's doing because you here. And time went on, and that dude's name just kept coming up.
It lies.
The dude's name just kept coming up. Come to find out, when I ended the relationship, that dude was a complete figment of her imagination. Completely made up person.
Made up.
Like,
made
no.
up.
Tell him we said what's up. Tell him we said what's up. Don't worry about that.
Made up.
Completely made up person. This dude had a MySpace page.
A MySpace page.
I knew all about his life. I knew he was a great singer. He sounded like Smokey Norfolk. He worked for the CIA as an analyst.
He was an analyst for the CIA.
When I tell y'all this dude had a whole life, and I found out like,
baby, that was a character straight out of a Zane novel.
Yeah. So I dated a woman who was also dating Drop Dead Fred. Yeah. I'm gonna write about it one day in my memoir. Latanya, you been in a situation where somebody wasn't being honest about their status?
Yeah.
How did that go?
It didn't.
It didn't.
Because I mean, I finally learned, that I have some autonomy, and if you lie to me, I'm done. I can't do it. But that took some time. It took me some time to get to that place. But yeah, I mean, he was just not emotionally available, so I couldn't be mad, because if you're not ready, you're not ready.
Yeah.
So I had to move on.
Sometimes you got to move on.
Sometimes
when somebody is being dishonest with you, sometimes the best thing you can do is just move on. Ain't no need in staying and fighting. Just move on. Sometimes it's just best to move on. Brittany,
ran as fast as my feet could carry me.
I love it. Brittany, what about you? You ever been in them situations?
I feel like I've been in situations where I wasn't necessarily being honest with myself about what I wanted. And then when I finally decided to be honest with myself, I had to just be like, this isn't going to work. I'm not really in it, and it's not fair. So.
Yes, I totally.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Every time you say something, I'm like, yep, I know that feeling.
Yep, in there.
What about you, Alex?
Well, Brittany made me feel some kind of way because I dated that person, and and they was telling them they weren't really there. I knew. I was telling myself they was. There was a lot going on, but we weren't being honest. Like I wanted them to be there. I knew they wasn't. I didn't say anything. I let time go by because I was like, maybe. And they were not happy and didn't say anything for years. And then it came out of the blue, and I was looking like, all this trash that you've been doing, and then you gonna break up with me? I should have been broke up with you. And that was the epiphany. I should have long time ago did this, but I didn't. And I let you do it. Not that it was like a competition I wanted to do it first, but it was like, I should have already did this. I wasted so much time. When I should have just been real. And that person should have also been real with themselves. Had we both been real about it.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I was sitting here thinking, I have also said yes when I wanted to say no out of safety concerns. I have been in situations as a woman where I have said yes to something out of fear that if I objected, that it was going to go completely downhill. And that's not even just sexually. That's just like, a suggestion or whatever, like just the energy of, if I don't, what is going to happen if I object to this request? Yeah. So I've been in that situation as well.
Cause Black women get attacked, or get attacked for turning down the advances of men in public, strangers. So that's a real sensitive spot for me, because I don't like that my wife doesn't feel comfortable going to the store at night by herself. That bothers me. And not because like we live in this terrible neighborhood. It's like it don't matter where it is.
No, it does not.
It doesn't matter where it is. So it starts with us being honest with ourselves, right? Every step of this framework, consent, honesty, mutuality, starts with us dealing with ourselves. Right? We have to take ownership of our consent. We got to be honest with ourselves, and then hold other people to the same standard that we have set for ourselves. Because we can't get mad at other people for being dishonest, or we can't only be upset with other people for being dishonest when we're also being dishonest. But again, in Song of Songs, we see a picture of honesty in this sexual relationship. Song of Songs, chapter 6. Verses 1 and 2, there's this exchange happening between the woman in the text and her friends. And her friends are like, yo, where is your guy? Where is your lover? Like, where is he? Because they don't know where he is. And she says, oh, he just down at the garden. Oh, I know where he is. He's not here, but I know where he is because we communicate. We're honest with each other. So I'm not sitting here in the lost in the dark, not knowing where I know where he is. I know where Pamela stands with me.
My man at.
I know where Pamela stands with me, and Pamela knows where I stand with her because we've committed to honesty in our relationship. So when we got an issue with each other, we tell each other and we talk about it. And I ain't saying that to say like we got everything figured out. We talk though. If we don't do nothing else,
right,
we talk. We'll say like, hey, this ain't working for me, or I don't like how that makes me feel. Right? We have those conversations. It is so very important that we be honest. And we be honest. Sexual relationships are much more fulfilling when we all know where we stand. When we know where we stand, sexual relationships are much more fulfilling. So this is the last thing. We talked about consent. We talked about honesty. Now, another huge part where like the real pleasure comes in is mutuality. Sex is made for our pleasure. You can't convince me otherwise that the divine didn't create sex for our pleasure. Church told us for a long time sex was all about procreation. I believe sex is just as much, if not more, about recreation.
Oh, I felt that. My shondo.
Sex is about pleasure. So if we're engaging in this act of pleasure, there needs to be a basic agreement of mutuality. This is the definition of mutuality. The sharing of a feeling.
One more time for the people in the back.
Listen to what I'm saying. The sharing of a feeling. We both
at the same
time are experiencing the pleasure together. So I'm making my commitment to my pleasure, you making your commitment to your pleasure, and we're making commitments to each other's pleasure. And again, that starts with knowing yourself. One of the greatest disservices that was ever done to us was having conversations about sex and not talking about our anatomy, being told it's gross or nasty to touch yourself. I felt shame. I talked about it in the Let's Talk About Sex group. I felt shame about self-pleasure, and I still work through it today. But knowing yourself and how you operate helps you to be grounded in your pleasure and allows you also to pay attention to the pleasure of the other person. So we got to have mutuality as a baseline understanding. And again, we see it in Song of Songs. Song of Songs, chapter 6, verse 3. The writer says, I am my beloved's and my beloved is mine. I am my beloved's and my beloved is mine. In other words, I give myself to this person freely, and I'm only claiming what's been given to me. I'm only claiming what's been given to me. I don't claim any aspect of Pamela that she has not given to me. And that is the picture of mutuality that we see here. Consent, honesty, mutuality. Human sexuality was meant for the mutual benefit of all consenting people involved. It's about showing equal commitment to your own pleasure and the pleasure of your partner. These are baseline agreements. These are baseline agreements. Now, what you do beyond that, your kinks and whatever that's a part of you being in honest communication with the people that you're engaging with. But we should all be able to agree right here. If we can't take anything else from Song of Songs, there's one thing I want us to all walk away with. Healthy human sexuality is holistically holy. Healthy human sexuality is holistically holy. There's nothing dirty about it. There's nothing gross about it. There's nothing vulgar or profane about it. It's holy. And I stand 10 toes down on that. And it has to be rooted in consent, honesty, and mutuality. Anything y'all wanted to say before we wrap this up? Anything come up?
I appreciate the conversation because I know that there are a lot of women who don't even know their own bodies to know what pleases them. And I was one of them. I had no idea. And so I had to figure it out. And now I'm in a very healthy, loving, sometimes it just blows my mind because I'm like, wow, how did this happen? But he's here. But I had to learn, and I had to do, just to be completely transparent, get in the mirror and look at my body and try different things, that toys, all of those things. I just went on an exploration because I wanted to know my body, because no one ever told me anything. I wasn't taught anything about my body. I was taught that my body belonged to my husband, and that was it. So what do you do when you don't have a husband?
Ooh.
What do you do when you don't have a husband, but you still have desire?
Yep.
And you have needs?
Yep.
And for you to tell me that it's only for marriage, okay, what if I never get married again? So I'm just supposed to not have sex? That doesn't even make any sense. It's not even logical, and it doesn't sound like God. Because you gave me this. You gave me these feelings. You gave me this body, and I'm attracted to this person or that person, but now you tell me I got to be married to him? That's why I was married. Because I was told in order to be married, in order to have sex, you got to be married. So I ended up marrying somebody I should have never married. So women, find out what pleases you. Know for yourself. And then go.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because if you don't, that's part of loving yourself and knowing yourself.
Yeah.
If you love yourself, you know what pleases you and you know what does not please you. Then you can tell the person, hey, I don't like that. I don't want that. I like this, or I like that.
Yep. We all talked about this meme in the Let's Talk About Sex connection group where dude was grabbing his woman's butt and he was squeezing it, and the original poster said, "Don't do this, women don't like this." And I was like,
my husband loved to do it.
Right. So
mutual.
It's something that a lot of women love, and it's something that some women don't really care for. It's about knowing what you like and communicating that.
Exactly.
Right. It's about, and you don't have to like what everybody else likes.
Right.
And again, for anybody who may be confused, if the church told you the only moral place you can engage sexually is in a marriage, they got to explain Song of Songs. Because when the ancients canonized writings on human sexuality, it wasn't between two married people. And that's in the book. that ain't me making stuff up. That's in the book. All right. Anybody else before we?
I was just gonna say that I know that this is Let's Talk About Sex Month, where we're applying this communication, honesty, and mutuality. But theologically, we aren't taught that about anything. We don't get to make decisions about anything. Parents don't get to hear no from their children. Leaders don't get to hear no from parishioners. Students don't get to tell the teacher no. Nobody gets to say no. And then all of a sudden you move out of your parents' house, and now you got to somehow figure out where to grab all of this courageous autonomy from that you've been told from 0 to 18 is disrespectful. Like, so if I can't tell you no about not wanting green beans, then what happens when I'm in the car with old buddy and he wants some good. Like, I ain't even ever been able to say no about what I do and don't want to eat as a kid.
Exactly.
So now I'm in this adult situation with these adult pressures as a 35, 40-year-old person who's never been allowed to say no to anything, who has never been able to express discontent or dislike for anything, because anything that is opposing to the authority is disrespectful. So now you've spent all of this time teaching girls that the man is the head and the man is the authority. And now when she get in a situation with old buddy, she can't tell him no, because not only has she not been given her own autonomy as a human to say no, but the church has conditioned her that you don't tell a man no. You don't tell your daddy no, you don't tell your pastor no, you don't tell your boyfriend or your husband no. So there's that. That's all I got. We can't say no because we aren't allowed to say no for anything. Anything that is pushback is disrespectful. Anything. Don't you say no to me. That's what we tell kids. Don't you say no to me. Like, okay.
You talking good now.
Just saying. Just saying.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. I did want to say one thing.
Yeah.
Going back to what Latanya was saying and kind of what your panel was talking about, as far as exploration, I feel like too, as men, it's like frowned upon to like explore what you like, and like, I mean, you know, even if just saying that, the initial thought is always one track. You never think of like exploring. And toys, I remember I had a toy, and all I kept thinking in my head was, what if something happens to me and my mom has to come to my house? I threw it all away. I had spent some money. I was like, I'm gonna throw everything away. I can't let it find that. I can't let anybody find that. You know what I mean? Because that's the thought you thought about, is that somebody posted something on Facebook and they were like, it was funny, and they were like, when did your parents find out that you were having sex? And I thought about that, and I said, never. She still don't know, technically. I mean, she can assume, but I ain't never like been like, you know, oh my God.
You better hope she don't see this.
Right, I'm 41, and I ain't never said nothing about it to her. She can assume. I mean, she's met, partners and stuff like that, but we better not ever venture in by accident into that conversation, just because that's just, I don't know. I can't ever. So
yeah. I appreciate you sharing that. I appreciate everybody for being here. I want Myron to go ahead and just give us final thoughts and close us out, if you would, Myron.
Go ahead, me close out. Listen, Alex, my mother is in the comments. Okay, she on the screen. Jesus the King, folks. What a great session here, folks. This is Let's Talk About Sex Month. I love that so many people have resonated with this conversation, because one of the things that we find in church is this thirst for control. And so we have dictated theological dictates from the pulpit because we wanted to control people. And one of the great things about TFC is that we now put the onus back on you, that you own your own spirituality, right? That you've got to work this thing out with fear and with trembling. This is not between us and God, it's between you and God. And so we always like to begin and say that this is about you, right? We invite people to run back to themselves, to recover themselves, to come back to themselves. Before you can go love anybody else, before you can make an impact in anybody else's life, you first got to make an impact in your own. So, Smith, I'm going to go ahead with the call to love here, since I feel like I'm already going down that vein. Folks, that's what this is about. Yes, this is Let's Talk About Sex Month, but before you start sleeping with everybody else, make sure you're comfortable going to bed with you. Make sure you can sleep with you, right? Before you can sleep with anybody else. So run back to yourself. The second invitation that I offer you on this fine Saturday afternoon is an invitation to connect with this community. If you think this conversation is life-giving. Well, I'm telling you, we just scratching the surface. We get a whole lot deeper and we get a whole lot more revelatory. This is just the beginning, and we invite you to come connect with this community to have these life-giving conversations that will alter the way you think about traditional theology and bring you to a space of healthy theology. That's what we're about here. We'll forsake the traditional so that we can have the healthy. And so we invite you to have these conversations with us. The way to do that is simple. Go to our website, thefaithcommunity.org. There is a link tree there. And right up at the top, it'll invite you to join the Fellowship Hall, which is our free Facebook group. You can then also click Text to Connect. It will give you an opportunity to go ahead and connect with us via text message. It'll automatically fill in your phone number and everything. It'll put the word disruptive in there so you can come and join our mailing list, and you'll know whenever we go online so that you can be a part of these conversations. And then the last invitation that I offer to you tonight, folks, is just to be a part of this group. Be a part of this community. Make a commitment to this community. You say, listen, I am being blessed by this group, by Bible and Beyond. I want to start a connection group. I want a connection group that deals with nature. You can do that. You can start that once you make a commitment to the faith community. I want a connection group that deals with NASCAR and spirituality. I don't know why I said NASCAR. That was just the first thing that popped on my head. If that's what you like, that's what you like. Ain't no judgment here in this space. I live right down the street from the Atlanta Motor Speedway. So we could go and do the connection group at the Speedway if that's what you're interested in. See, there's no judgment here. I'm right there with you. So whatever you want to do a connection group in is what I'm saying. Is what you can do. And so you only can do that, however, is if you make the commitment to be a part of this community. And we invite you to do that as well. It is simple. There is a 60-second membership form that's on our website as well. You can go fill that out. We want to know a little bit more about you, and you'll find out a little bit more about you. You'll talk to Mama Tony, who is in the chat right now. You'll have a conversation with some of our leaders. We just want to find out who you are so that ultimately we can find out what you need so that we can grow together in the most healthy way possible. Thank you for joining us here at the Faith Community. Boy, this has been a blessing. What a great conversation. What a great framework to have so that we can move into our relationships in a healthy way as opposed to a traditional way. Smith, if you would pray for us, I think that'll.
Sure. Absolutely. I also want to say for those who've been saying, when are we going to have worship again? Next Saturday, a week from today, will be our worship experience for the month of May. We haven't had worship since the day before Easter. So I'm looking forward to us coming together for worship. If you are in Atlanta and you want to join us in person, that will be at Neighborhood Church next Saturday at 4 Eastern. And for those of us who are in the virtual congregation, of course, it's the same bat time, the same bat place on Facebook Live, YouTube Live. We will be together next week. Let's pray.
I have a question before you do that.
Yeah.
Is there going to be information about the Day Fest?
It's coming.
Okay, because I'm coming.
All right. Listen, there's a time, I'm telling you.
My husband and I are coming.
Yes. Awesome.
I can't wait.
Yeah. Listen, I can't wait to see your faces and hug you and stuff.
Yeah. I was worn out the day after Day Fest because I had such a good time. I'm scheduling a vacation day for the day Day Fest is over because we had that much fun that week. Fun. My dad is coming to Day Fest as well. So you'll meet Myron Randall Sr. as well. So it's going to be a time and a half, folks.
Yeah. One thing I can tell you, I know we're going to have a TFC choir for Day Fest. So anybody that's coming to Day Fest that likes to sing and wants to be a part of the choir, Marielle.
That ain't my
gift. We testing everybody's vibrato. If you can't hold a strong vibrato,
yeah,
that ain't my gift.
That's all right. It's not mine, but I'm the leader of the tenor section. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
I need all that. I need all of that.
We need we need your mouth to move and everything. Yes.
I need 90s and early 2000s choir music.
We need James Hall, Donald Lawrence.
Yes.
Yeah, we need that.
Yes, we will have information about Day Fest within the next couple of weeks. Give us the next couple of weeks to work out some details. And that'll be a good 3 months before Day Fest actually happens. Day Fest is the last weekend in August. So you still have over 3 months to prepare if you want to join us in Atlanta, which is that one time of the year where we come together, we celebrate the anniversary of the faith community. This year makes 5 years, and we just have a good time. And Dayfest
trying
is
to have karaoke this.
Yeah, we're trying to do karaoke. As I want to be clear, Dayfest is about community. We're not doing a conference. We're just doing community for the weekend. So I don't need you to bring.
You don't need your notepads.
We do enough work. You know, we do enough talking about these heavy topics. We gonna have fun. It's all about fun.
Hey, for karaoke, I'm looking for a karaoke partner to sing "Fire and Desire" with. So if anybody's interested, just slide in my DMs.
He ain't gonna answer.
Boaz is up again.
He ain't gonna respond. Don't slide in his DMs. Your feelings gonna be hurt.
Right.
Slide in Christians, and he'll give
it the time that it ain't personal. He ignores everybody.
It's not personal. Slide in Christians, and then he'll send me the message. Fire.
Don't slide in mine either.
Tina Marie.
And Pam's face for being like, "Don't you know? No, you don't."
I'm looking for he ain't about to respond either.
Let me tell you something. I ain't got time. Let's pray. God, thank you for this day, for this gathering, for this community. Thank you for a place where we can really be ourselves. And that's so, it's so undervalued. It's so undervalued. Thank you for a place where we can really be ourselves. Because a lot of us go through life not even realizing there are very few spaces in our lives where we can just be ourselves. So thank you for giving us a community of faith that nurtures that promotes it, and how we love ourselves and how we love each other. Thank you for this time. Thank you for what we've learned. Thank you for what we've shared. Thank you for the aha moments and the laughter and the moments of reflection. Thank you for all of it. Be with us as we leave this virtual space, but never, ever, ever, ever dismiss us from your presence. It's in all of your names that we pray. Ashe and amen.
Ashe and amen.
All right, y'all. Y'all have a good one.
Good
We'll see you. See you next week.
Tomorrow.